the first two episodes, we discussed about King Ermiyuran and his people Vadugar mentioned in Sangam literature and identified him as a king of certain parts of Karnataka with Mysore as his capital city. During the proto-historic period of Karnataka, before Karnataka came under Mauryan rule with King Ashoka's conquest. In this episode, let us discuss about the ongoing language debate whether Kannada is born out of Tamil or not, with the shared linguistic and cultural ancestry of these two states, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. Veteran actor Kamal Hassan sparked a storm across Tamil Nadu and Karnataka with one simple statement: Kannada is born out of Tamil. The reaction? Outrage in Karnataka, protests, violence, court cases from the High Court of Karnataka all the way to the Supreme Court of India. Newspapers and television channels lit up with debates. Is there any truth to what Kamal said? To answer that, let's step back and take a quick look at the history and classification of Indian languages. India's languages fall into two major language families. One is Indo-Aryan, the other is Dravidian. The Indo-Aryan languages like Sanskrit, Punjabi, Marathi, Rajasthani, Gujarati, Hindi, etc. belong to the massive Indo-European language family. This family stretches from India to Ireland and includes Sanskrit, Greek, Latin, Persian, Avestan, German, French, Russian, and many more. All of these languages trace back to a common ancestor, the Proto-Indo-European language, spoken thousands of years ago by the Yamnaya people in the Pontic, Caspian steppe, now parts of Ukraine and Russia. They split into two major branches, the Centum branch with Latin and Greek and the Southern branch with Sanskrit and Avestan, both words meaning 100. Here we should understand that the idea of different language families, Indo-Aryan and Dravidian, means that those two language families had independent origins and not born from each other. This means that neither Sanskrit is born out of Tamil nor Tamil is born out of Sanskrit. Tamil versus Proto-Dravidian. Now, the Dravidian language family includes Tamil, Kannada, Telugu, Malayalam, Tulu, and others. One set of historians and linguistic scholars say that all the Dravidian languages evolved from a common ancestor, Proto-Dravidian language. But others point out something crucial, that the Proto-Dravidian language is also Tamil, a primitive form of Tamil. Let's examine how this idea arises. In the Indo-European family, there are several ancient languages like Hittite, Anatolian, Sanskrit, and Avestan. These languages are found in vastly different regions but are equally ancient, yet they exhibit clear structural and lexical similarities. That's what led scholars to reconstruct their common ancestor, the Proto-Indo-European language. But in the Dravidian family, there is a key difference. Tamil is the only ancient language. It has no ancient competitor within the same family. To understand the antiquity of Tamil, let us compare it with one other language of Dravidian language family. Here let us take Kannada itself. The first literature of Tamil is Sangam literature belonging to 3rd century BCE, whereas the first literature of Kannada is Kaviraja Marga belonging to 8th century CE, almost 1000 years after the first literature of Tamil. The earliest inscription of Tamil is at Mangulam near Madurai, so far found, belongs to 5th century BCE, whereas the first inscription of Kannada belongs to 3rd century CE, found at Shravana Belagola, almost 800 years after Tamil's first inscription found. The earliest evidence of script is found at Kivedi excavation site in potsherds belonging to 6th century BCE. There is no script before 3rd century CE in Kannada. So, we must ask, if Tamil alone bears the antiquity, why should we assume the existence of a common ancestor like Proto-Dravidian? Is the idea necessary or simply inherited from the Indo-European logic? Let's explore.
In earlier episodes, in the first two episodes of this series, if you have not seen it, please view it before continuing with this video. The link is in the description. In those two earlier episodes, we met King Erumai of Kudanadu, identified with today's Coorg, and his capital, Erumayur, today's Mysore. Sangam literature calls his people the Vadugar, brave warriors with hunting dogs, bows and arrows, and a fierce spirit. They traded and fought alongside the Tamils. At the Battle of Talayalanganam, King Erumai joined with a confederacy of 6 Tamil kings, a Chera, a Chola, and 4 other famous chieftains, against another Tamil king, Pandian Nedunjediyan. This was before the Common Era, long before Kannada's first literary appearance in the 8th century CE. So, what language did the Vadugar speak? If Kannada existed back then, wouldn't the Sangam texts call their king King Emme, his city Emme Uru, and his kingdom Paschima Rajya? But Sangam poems clearly say Perisai Yerumai, Yerumayur, and the kingdom Kudanadu. These are unmistakably Tamil words. Historians and scholars like Anirudh Kanisetti suggest that the Vadugar spoke a Proto-Dravidian language. Kannada is indeed part of the Dravidian family, later influenced by Indo-Aryan languages like Prakrit and Sanskrit. So logically, before Kannada emerged, people in that region must have spoken the Proto-Dravidian language. Let's pause here and reflect. The dictionary meaning of proto is primitive, older or earlier form. And the word primitive means simpler, unsophisticated and less developed. In nature, everything starts simple and evolves. Life began as single-celled organisms and evolved into complex beings like Homo sapiens. Our tools evolved from simple stone axes to the complex satellites. And so did languages, from basic sounds to structured grammar and poetry. Now think, during the Sangam age, the Tamils were composing refined classical literature, beautiful, expressive poetry with established grammar, meter and emotional nuance. So we must ask, how could the Vadugar, just across the border, still be speaking a primitive, simpler, unsophisticated language while their Tamil neighbors were crafting some of the world's finest pieces of classical poems? Is it likely that in the same historical moment, one group had achieved literary sophistication while the other was still stuck in the linguistic Stone Age? The Vadugar had strong cultural and trade connections with their neighbors, the Tamils, who were living through the glorious Sangam period. Doesn't it make more sense then that they too spoke a dialect of Tamil, a rich and fully developed language that had already evolved from its primitive roots?
That's what many Tamils believe, and it's this belief that shaped Kamal Hassan's remark that Tamil is the mother of Kannada. It's not a claim of superiority. Instead, it's a perspective rooted in literary timelines and linguistic evolution. Homo sapiens evolved from apes. This doesn't suggest that Homo sapiens are inferior to apes. Of course, they are not so. In the same way, languages do evolve too. If Kannada and Telugu are born out of Tamil dialects, it simply reflects a natural linguistic progression and not disrespect.
Some Sangam poems give us more clues on this topic. Ahananuru 107 calls the Vadugar Neelmoli Kadanai Vadugar, meaning Vadugar people with long flowing words, but it doesn't say different language. Another poem, Ahananuru 36, which we have looked into in earlier episode, describes the Battle of Talayalanganam, where the Tamil king Pandian Nedunjediyan won the confederacy of the 7 powerful kings who were also Tamils, and one of them being the King Erumayuran. Here, the poet describes King Erumai as Narari Naravin Erumayuran, meaning King Erumai with fiber filtered liquor. Had he been a Kannada speaking or some other Proto-Dravidian language speaking king, the obvious adjective would have been Muripeyr Deyathu Erumayuran, meaning Ermayuran with a different language. But instead, poet shows the simple adjective Narari Naravin Ermayuran. Vadigar people are said to be very famous for the liquor, as we saw in other episode. The poet uses their famous liquor as an adjective for King Irmay here. Some other poems like Kurundogai 11 and Ahananoru 295 call the home of Vadigar, the land of Vadigar, as Molipeyar Deyam, a land with a different tongue. Maybe the earlier poems captured a time when Vadigar still spoke Tamil dialects, and later poems reflect the birth of a new language, Kannada. This is just a hypothesis offered for linguists and historians to explore.
Before and during Sangam age, Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh had minimal Indo-Aryan influence. But by around 250 BCE, when they came under Mauryan rule, Indo-Aryan languages like Pali, Prakrit and Sanskrit entered the region through Buddhism and Jainism and also became the official languages. Over the centuries, Indo-Aryan languages gradually blended with the local tongue and new languages like Kannada and Telugu were born. Up to this much, all historians agree. But the debate lies in only one question: whether the ancestors of Kannadigas spoke a dialect of Tamil or a simpler Proto-Dravidian language. Ironically, all Kannadigas accept the Proto-Dravidian theory and take pride in telling that their ancestors actually lagged behind in linguistic development while their counterparts in Tamil lands experienced the glorious Sangam age, yet feel offended when told that their ancestors should have spoken a dialect of Tamil. In the next episode, let us look through the eyes of Sangam literature, the Aryan-Dravidian dichotomy, which is the fundamental fault line that lies beneath all these debates. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and don't forget to read the Sangam poems through the link given in the description box.